in
Uh,
a male-dominated space like that?
I think women engineers, like all engineers, have the greatest challenge of how to communicate the brilliant ideas they have. They also don't know how to engage with the media, traditional media or social media, and yet you'd expect that as scientists, they would be tech savvy, which they are, but they are camera shy. So they tend to be closed in, talk to themselves, a scientist to another scientist, even when they're talking to another journalist, they assume, the KVS they're talking about, the formulas they're talking about, and I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. So, like you've clearly said, in leadership, all of us, regardless of the background, many times some of us end up in leadership, whether you're a scientist, a STEM person, or a non STEM person, some of you will end up in leadership. Leadership automatically comes with aspects of communication. You have to communicate the strategies, you have to communicate the innovations, the creativity, but also manage the team. It's all about communicating. You also have to communicate to the outer world. And our biggest partner here is the media. So, how do you engage the media? How do you communicate to them? How do you maybe hold a press conference? How do you write a press statement? So, things like that, it's important. But also, a lot of scientists think by hiding away from the media, they're hiding away from the problem. And yet, people seek clarity, people seek explanation. So when they come out to communicate, how do they communicate? And understanding that we are not all scientists is very important. So how do you communicate these complex things? So for me, the example I always give, assuming we are all Ugandans with the traditional grandmothers who haven't been to school, I'm like, how, if your grandmother asked you, what do you do? I have a brother who used to work with World Food Program. And my grandmother said, you mean with all that education, all you do is just give out food? So he's a scientist and was unable to explain he's a statistician. So those are the things we're talking about. How do you explain to your grandmother what you do, your innovation, and the difference it's making to the world? But also as a woman, we have an extra challenge. Sometimes when women are seen, we are judged by what we look like. Now, most scientists, like typically, let's say it's a geologist, she's off the mine word, they don't mind about their appearance. But a woman, before you even utter a word, you're already judged. We've seen examples like women parliamentary or women presidential candidates. You see, with a man, it's about the manifesto. I think you could turn up in shorts and it is okay. But a woman, the hair, that is the dress she wore yesterday. So we must think about power dressing, being decent, colors that appeal, and then people, you have their attention. If you're too skimpy, we're busy looking, we're looking down like that. We're not paying attention to what you're saying. If again I'm in a Gomesi, yeah, so you've got to think about that. So communication is not just about the spoken word, the audibility, but it's also how you present yourself to the outside world. When you step up, how do you appear? Then how do you communicate? How do you articulate? Remembering that not everyone understands these jargons, but also beyond the media or beyond the documents that we write, making it accessible. If you're invited for a TV interview, do you turn up? When do you turn up? What do you say? Do you assume everyone knows what you're saying? If a journalist asks you a question, do you send them away? Like, I don't have time for that. I mean, a lot of journalists will give you that kind of feedback about scientists. Beautiful innovation benefits the people, but they don't want to talk to anyone. They assume we shall all understand. So I think those are some of the skills that we really need to pay attention to: media management, engaging with the media, how to make them partners to promote the work that we do, I think is really key. So they have to, if they don't have the skills, they have to remember to work with the people who are trained in the area of communication, in the area of leadership, to be able to enhance and further their work.